Hello and welcome to another edition of Unpopular Reviews. Surprise, surprise, surprise. I was released from the Moonlight Insane Asylum to do this episode of Smackdown, ladies and gentlemen. And because for some reason tonight I'm a wrestling fan. I don't know what's going on. But hey, it was a fun show. I am joined by none other than Christopher Platt, ladies and gentlemen. And tonight should be a fun show. You know why? Because here's the truth. We just met.
Hey, greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Not only did we just meet, I'm flighted. Shout out to the unofficial sponsor of this podcast, Yinling Beer and Kettle One, which is what got me on here this evening. So, yes, this might be very, very interesting.
Sure will. I love it. Now, in full disclosure, I was in and out on SmackDown this evening, but it did seem a little bit interesting. Now, in my opinion, they're stretching things out. They're dragging things out.
That's a very educated opinion. That's exactly what we're doing. We got 2 weeks until WrestleMania Backlash. Is there a Saudi show coming up at this point in time? Is there another Jam in the Sand coming up at some particular point in time?
I wonder if that is what's happening. I think so, because I mean, hey, listen, they make more money there than 1 week of WrestleMania.
So we got WrestleMania Backlash. We got a possible Jam in the Sand. Of course, Money in the Bank is going to happen at some particular point in time this summer, and then we're going to go into SummerSlam, which is they've now conditioned that and positioned that as WrestleMania Summer. So that's kind of what we're building to here. But yeah, overall, this SmackDown, it was all right. It was a ho-hum show. There were some things that happened. Nothing particularly groundbreaking or earth-shattering happened, but it was one of those shows. Again, we got a lot of time to fill, and we've got to kind of fill in our holes. Like, every episode can't be the end-all be-all of episodes. We gotta world build. You know what I mean?
That is true. You definitely got to put on a television show, but then at the same time, like, going to a Raw or SmackDown sometimes is a roll of the dice. Does that make sense?
No, well, I can't speak for a SmackDown because I haven't been to a SmackDown yet, but I've been to several Raws, and being there in person, it's exhausting. Like, you are literally spent by the time you leave there because it is a television show. So all the ups and the downs, and between the ups, you go down. And when I say you go down, like, the commercials are coming on and they're playing the commercials in the arena. The arena goes black, and the wrestlers just sitting there in the ring looking dumb as hell for whatever the fuck reason. Yeah. And by the time you get to the end of the show, man, you're physically, like, you're just emotionally drained and exhausted because it's hard. Number one, it's already hard to keep that up, during a 3-hour show. But in a television taping, you're going up and then down, and then they expect you to go back up again, and then you go back down. Like, it's exhausting. Like, it's not a very pleasurable experience. I'm just being honest with you.
It's not. After a while, it really is. Like, I mean, I like pay-per-views are much different, because it's a consistent high. But then, yeah, the TV shows, yeah, you're right. Because, like, when that whole portion of, like, them just standing in the ring while you're waiting for the commercials to pass is annoying.
Really, like, yeah, you feel like you're at a goddamn taping of the Cosby Show or something, and they're throwing up the applause button and shit like that. It looks like we're like trained seals or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? It's a lot, man. It's not a very enjoyable experience. I would say, as a wrestling fan, pay-per-views, really the best viewing experience that you're gonna feel is from a house show. That's the best as a true fan. A house show, that's the best experience you're gonna get. Besides a WrestleMania or a Royal Rumble, which I think the Royal Rumble is probably the best event to go to. But yeah, if you can't make it to one of those, your best bet is to go to a house show.
I feel you on that, because it's like going to a glorified indie show.
Yeah. And And the crowd plays their role. They don't try to hijack the show. They don't try to get themselves over. They boo the heels and cheer the faces, and it's a fun time. It's a really fun time.
It is. Now, so speaking of fun time, the Queen comes out and carries the promo again. Just carries the whole segment. This is just amazing. Like, she's just great. I'm sorry, she is.
No, that was an excellent segue, by the way. Had to give you props on that.
Thank you.
So the Queen Charlotte Flair comes out. Ronda Rousey, Jesus Christ, Ronda Rousey comes out as well. It's the contract signing for their I Quit match at WrestleMania Backlash, which is excellent marketing. They go back and forth on the mic. Eventually, Ronda puts Drew Gulak in the armbar, similar to Charlotte putting him in the figure eight last week. And while he's tapping out, Ronda signs the contract, and we're off and running. Mm-hmm. Now, honestly, man, this feud, I feel like it's I feel like it's lost a lot of steam, man. And Vic, and the reason I say that is because I think that the roles are reversed. I think that ultimately Ronda Rousey, her best value with the company is as a heel. But the problem is, how do you make Charlotte Flair a face? Not only is she bigger than all the other women in the division, all the accolades and everything that they put upon her, it's hard to make her a baby face because, they've positioned her as the one in the division. And it's hard to see her in peril or even to get her in a position of peril. So I think like the problem that they're having with this feud is that the roles need to be reversed, but I understand why they're doing it because it's hard to reverse the roles. But ultimately, man, Vic, personally, I'm like, man, with this feud, it's not making me moist, man.
I agree with you, but and the reason I agree with you halfway is because it's incredibly predictable, right? So that they literally are putting Ronda Rousey in this position to kind of, instead of just to give her the belt right away, make her earn it. But at the same time, like, from the merchandise sales, she's over. Like, she's got a lot of merch that's sold out.
You talking about Charlotte or Ronda?
Oh, Ronda.
Okay.
See, and now Charlotte Flair is like John Cena. She is a title at this point. You know what I mean? Like, fighting her is like fighting Trish Stratus or something like that. You feel what I'm saying? Like, she's a big deal. Like, she doesn't need a strap. It just, it just adds to, it's just a cherry on top. You feel what I'm saying? So, like, Ronda Rousey has to beat her in a dramatic fashion. You feel me? So, like, in my opinion, like, the way that I look at it is just that, like, all right, they're doing this for a reason because Ronda doesn't have the mic skills, man. That's why I'm saying like that Charlotte is so good. She's sitting here just carrying this whole thing. Because in my opinion, if Ronda had things to say that was a little bit more compelling, then they could probably make a story out of it. Like, look, if you remember just the feuds that Charlotte Flair had with Becky Lynch and the back and forth and how great it was, and mind you, look, this whole thing makes me appreciate WrestleMania 35 even more because both of them really carried that whole thing as far as building the story, if that makes sense. Like, they're trying to build this big feud between these two, and where it's losing its sizzle is whenever Ronda has a mic in her hand. Ronda needs a Paul Heyman. That's what she needs. You know what I mean? In my opinion, like, if Roman drops the belt and loses the Wise Man, that's, in my opinion, that's the direction he should go, because she desperately needs a mouthpiece, or at least a female Paul Heyman. You know what I mean? To make her because I mean, she has the she has the name, she has everything. She just doesn't have like the mic skills. I mean, look, somebody like Brock Lesnar. Same thing, but look, Brock Lesnar, he got over because he was able to say a few cool things as a babyface. You know what I mean? But he never really got up there and actually hit a promo. Like,
That's fair. That's fair.
just not
And
thing. She's not gonna pull people in. She's gonna kick ass. You know what I mean? She's very UFC, which is gonna, but she's no Conor McGregor. She's not gonna bring the crowd in.
that's fair. That's fair. And by the way, shout out to Cage Side Seats this evening, because that's where I'm getting these, pulling up these SmackDown results from. So just real quick to kind of put a bow on this, I'm just going to read what they have, regarding this contract signing. So we'll start here. Drew, as in Drew Gulak, tries to give a PowerPoint that he made to explain the rules of an I Quit match, and Flair berates him. She speculates on what maneuver will be best to make Rousey quit before deciding if it doesn't matter, or before deciding it doesn't matter, because she'll eventually find a way to win. Ronda rambles about how the referee can't save her, and eventually Charlotte tips the table over. She hit a kendo stick under it and goes to town, but Rousey is able to wrench it away from her and beat her down.
Yep.
Drew Gulak comes from behind to pull it off and point out that she hasn't signed the contract, but Ronda hits the Piper's Pit on him before locking him in the armbar. Rousey signs the contract with Drew in the armbar, and that's how that segment ended on SmackDown this evening.
Well, I mean, from looking at the comment section right now, right, it looks like there are people that are interested, that are hyped about the I Quit match, and as am I, and in a sense, as to I want to see how they pull this trigger. That's what I'm really interested in. Like where you're coming from, I totally agree, because like we said before, there's no sizzle, But anyway,
so we both agree that Ronda is going to get this belt by hook or by crook.
not necessarily, because I mean the Charlotte Flair is a treasure, and I've got a feeling they might drag this out even further till SummerSlam. You know what I mean? Like I don't see why not. And Ronda Rousey's money. Ronda Rousey doesn't necessarily need a what's it called? She doesn't necessarily need a strap, but it'll look good on her because she didn't have the blue one. She had the red one. So
and there's a lot of TV time to fill between now and SummerSlam. So I could see what you're saying, that they could possibly drag this out.
Mm-hmm.
But moving along here on SmackDown, man. So after that, they gave us a recap between the brawl between the New Day and I don't even know what they call them, like Sheamus, Pete Dunne, who is now known as Butch, and Rich Holland. I don't know what they call him. Shout out to Sheamus, because I kind of like his style. Like the clothes that he wears, I wear those on a daily basis, pre-pandemic. So shout out to them. But that's where we were. And then that leads us into a singles match between Pete Dunne, who is now known as Butch, versus King Xavier Woods of the New Day. Now this match,
I'm debating I should buy his side plates.
His side plates?
Yes.
What side plates? What you mean?
He has side plates from when he was the NXT.
Oh, got you. You talking about the bruiserweight?
Yes, and the Walter side plates.
We go get to Walter in a minute, man. We go get there. Yeah.
I feel like buying them just to take the stand. You know what I mean? Like, why change anyway? I'm sorry.
Well, no, you're good. Coming from a family that literally has 4 Walters in its bloodline, I feel a way about them changing his name, but that's neither here nor there, man. But going back to Butch, aka Pete Dunne versus Xavier Woods, it was a decent television match. Ultimately, Xavier Woods wins with a small package. What do you think about this feud between the New Day and whatever Sheamus and his crew has going on?
I want to know why they stopped the King of the Ring, first of all. Why they took they stopped the whole King gimmick, because I was looking forward to this because this is something he really wanted to play with. You know what I mean? And I really want to know, like he got hurt and then they kind of brought him back and then they kind of took it away. Like the King of the Ring is no longer mentioned, which is very disappointing. Number one, right? So right now with them, I feel like they're just putting them together because they don't know what to do. You know,
That's basically what it is. They put them together because they don't know what to do. I
yeah.
think Xavier Woods got hurt, and that kind of stalled it. Kind of stagnated the momentum that he had going with the King of the Ring. But it's still the New Day. I feel like you owe them better than what you're doing with them right now, considering all the money that they've made the company. But that's neither here nor there. And we're gonna keep it moving like an escalator in this SmackDown.
Facts.
So after the match, Pete Dunne, my bad, Butch is so distraught that he just runs up into the crowd and runs away. And Sheamus and Ridge Holland are left to be looking like, what the hell is going on with Butch? Where the hell did he go? It's like your dog got off the leash and then he runs away, and you're looking at each other like, well, where the hell did it go? Like, and how do we get it back at this point in time? That's kind of that's kind of what happened,
Basically.
Yeah. So then backstage after that, Aaliyah, which they're not doing anything with, runs into Rick O'Shea. And I call him Rick O'Shea because I'm praying they don't realize he's black. Maybe they'll think he's Irish and give him a push again. So Rick O'Shea talk about how great it's been to be IC champ and blase blah blase this. All of a sudden, Jinder Mahal and Shanky, which I love that name, roll up on Rick O'Shea and say, hey, yeah, you might have beat Jinder, but you still ain't shit. Hey, if you claim to be a fighting champion, why don't you fight? And they set up a match between Ricochet and Shanky. It doesn't happen on this show, but eventually we're going to get a Ricochet and Shanky match. Do you
Uh,
have any thoughts about that?
um, I really want them to pull the trigger and make Ricochet a heel. And
How? How could he be a heel?
I don't know. I have
Like
no idea.
what about him says heel? He's such a
Because
baby
here's the
face.
thing, you know what the problem that Ricochet has is that he has such an amazing past, and he's in the perfect spot, but he, what's the best analogy? Like he's like a soft Democrat, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because I mean, the only that's the reason I say that is because like look, he has so much wrestling ability. He has history. That match with Will Ospreay, they still make T-shirts of that match, and everybody knows that him from Lucha Underground has the mic skills. But in WWE, it's like you can feel that he's reading a script.
So,
You know?
ladies and gentlemen, this is what it sounds like when black people stay on code and try to look out for each other. Because what my man Vic is really saying is that the Rick O'Shea presentation in WWE has been mad corny. But he doesn't want to bury Rick O'Shea because we got to stick together, especially as black wrestlers and black wrestling fans. We got to stay on code. I appreciate that. But that's
I
what you're saying.
No, I mean no, it's not even that. It's just that like he can't talk the way he wants to talk. Basically, like you know what I mean. Like he's freaking he he's he's doing what he has to do to keep his spot. I
Yeah.
recognize that and I respect that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
And
he's making more money than he's ever made before in this industry, and he's just gonna rock with it, whether good
facts.
or bad, right or wrong.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And the thing is that right now, in my opinion, like if he were to some reason to do pull a Cesaro, leave, go back to the indie scene, it would be one of the hugest things ever. He would be if he were to show up at PWG, and do and wrestle over there. It would freaking break the internet in the wrestling world. In my opinion, it would be like a Cody Rhodes move. But he's in the right spot and looking out for his future. I get that he's doing a Kevin Owens, but I just feel like I really really hope that they pull the trigger on him because I feel like right now they're doing an Apollo Crews to him. They're putting the belt on him and giving him good matches because they know that he can pull out quality in the ring. They're just not they're not pulling the trigger on him on the mic. That's what I feel. You know what I mean? I really think this guy can go really, really far. Um and I mean, listen, I would like to see a feud between him and Austin Theory. You know what I mean? Those two can go crazy, do crazy stuff in the ring. But then, like, if they do some stuff on the mic, I really think that because, and mind you, I'm saying that because of what I've seen him do in Lucha Underground. I know this kid has the mic skills. You feel what I'm saying? I just want them to pull the trigger on him. And I've been feeling that way about him for a long time because, yo, who else does what he does in the ring?
That's
I'm
fair.
sorry, I ramble. I'm sorry about that.
Nah, it's all good. That's fair. And speaking of getting over on the indies, Walter, aka Gunther, was next up on SmackDown, and he squashed some jabroni. I think his name was Teddy Goods. It doesn't matter. He squashed him. Vic, what are your thoughts about Walter, aka Gunther, now that he's been called up to the main roster in the big time?
I mean, hey, listen, they like the big dudes. The guy's got a big following. The guys can pull quality matches, and he hasn't his mic skills are not necessarily the best, but what's believable about him is just, he's a man of few words. So because he's a man of few words, what he says is impactful, and I think that Imperium, whether they exist or they don't exist anymore, that literally was one of the longest lasting factions in WWE. I want to say in the last 5 years, and mind you, like some of these, you know what I mean? Like, in my opinion, and like I said before, like a part of me wants to buy those side plates that they have left over. Just you know what I mean? Just to be like in 10 years when he's the WWF champion. Just to be like, no, fuck you, this Walter.
Touche. I feel you. I feel you.
That's what I feel like.
Yeah, I feel you. So moving right along, after the Walter squash match, we get a recap of the storyline between the Usos and RK Bro and how we got to this unification tag team title match that's going to happen at WrestleMania Backlash. Again, WrestleMania Backlash, excellent marketing ploy, right? But Randy Orton and Matt Riddle, they're backstage having an interview. Drew McIntyre rolls up on him. Bro, Riddle. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're cool, bro. We just burned one yesterday at 420, blah blah blah, whatever." Drew and Randy Orton have a moment, and Randy basically says, "Hey man, we're good, whatever." They go about their separate ways. They both have, things going on later on this evening, and then we get to the match, which is Jay Uso versus Matt Riddle, which, as far as TV matches go, again, it's okay. I think it's hard for the Usos to have a bad match, and Riddle, whether if you like the character or not, he goes and he plays hard in the ring, right? So ultimately, Matt Riddle pins the other Uso after pinning the other Uso last week. So RK Bro is up 2-0 versus the Usos going into this match in 2 weeks at WrestleMania Backlash, the unification match. Now, Vic, I'm not gonna lie, man. Thinking of WWE booking, and we've all been WWE fans for years. I'm thinking that this means that the Usos are somehow, by hook or by crook, going to come out as unified tag champs.
Maybe because RK Bro is really, really over. Really, really, really over. Especially in the last couple of days. Like this RK Bro 420 shirt, limited edition 420 shirt, has been flying off the shelves. They really, really over. And mind you, this is one of the first times I've ever seen something like this, like so blatant. You know what I'm saying? Like where it's like, hey everybody, let's smoke weed. Not, mind you, like they back in the day they teased it a little bit with RVD, but never like, RK Bro 420. Like what? And these kids, they're money. You know what I mean? But then at the same time, they're about to celebrate Randy Orton 20 years. They released a belt. They released a big gold that looks like a snake for Randy Orton. So depending on which direction they're going, because like they either have to celebrate Randy Orton by himself and separate the two, or celebrate them as unified tag team champions. Right now, I think that they should win because the Usos, like, my whole thing is that all right, if they lose, then they could drag it out a little more and try to get it back. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
nobody knows the severity of Roman's injury. Nobody really knows that, and nobody knows how long we really got to drag it out. So this is right now. I like this. I kind of like this because it's a big question mark. It's not predictable. You don't know where they're gonna go. I think that that shirt was like a testing ground to see if they should just pull the trigger on RK Bro. I think if they pull the trigger on RK Bro, they could drag it out a little bit more. The Roman Reigns could get upset and be like, "What the hell do you mean you lost?" You know what I mean? And just go through this whole thing, and then they could drag it out, and RK Bro could have this big smoke party or whatever, and on Raw, and everybody could be happy and all of that, and they could walk around, and Riddle could wear like one belt this way, the other one that way, and I think that should be good. Because in my opinion, once they have the belts, then what?
That's fair. Now, speaking of Roman Reigns, they were cutting back and forth between this match and Roman Reigns backstage watching, the festivities and what was going on. So, at the point in time where Uso lost to Riddle, they cut back to Roman. And of course, he's, understandably pissed because it's Roman. You know how this works, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
so stay tuned for that. Now, moving ahead a little bit, we go to a backstage segment with the Boston Glow, aka Sasha Banks and Naomi, aka a Christopher sandwich, if I can say that, because my lady ain't gonna hear me say it. And they're talking on the mic, and after that, Natalia and Shayna Baszler into the scene, which basically we don't have to worry about what they said. That basically means that's the next challenger for these belts, right?
Shout out to Natty. I love Natty.
Natty been holding the WWE down like an anvil on a seesaw for at least 15 years, right?
She's the female R-Truth.
Oh, that's a good one. That's go deeper. Say more.
Yeah, because she's reliable everywhere. Listen, she was in NXT the other day. She's like and then she'll team up with anybody to be tag team champion. You know what I mean? She's not like overly ambitious like some other people, but she will always be there to help somebody get better in so many ways. And it was apparent and Total Divas and shit like that. And like, mind you, like, and here's the truth, like, she let Sasha Banks use her father's death to get heat. You know what I mean?
Touche.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when Sasha Banks came out, I thought it was gonna be, but she literally let, and mind you, and I'm sure that Natty looked at that like, like her father would have loved that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because
Yeah.
it's a business thing. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, man. And mind you, I'm a Bret Hart fan, so it's part of it is that bias, that Stu Dungeon bias. You know what I mean? But still, like, she's just ill. She's just a workhorse, and she'll help anybody out. And she's made so many people better. And I feel like Bret Hart did the same thing. You know what I mean? He Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold. You know what I mean? It got people over to the next level. It's just, yeah, she's great. I'm sorry, I rambled.
No, no, it's all good, bro. It's all good, bro. So after that, we have Madcap Moss. He's backstage working out, and Happy Corbin, yeah, yeah, yeah. Mike, he's from Chi-Town. He'll appreciate that. He rose up on Madcap Moss, and I'm gonna read this straight from Cage Side Seats. Their interaction. He, meaning Happy Corbin, thinks it's time and he's willing to step up, or Madcap Moss rather, thinks he's willing to step up and be the bigger man and forgive Moss. Madcap thinks about it, and says they shared some good laughs, but as much chance he goes back to Happy Corbin's side as he does growing a full head of hair. and laughs until he leaves.
Mm.
Madcap Moss makes his entrance and sends us to break. So, in other words, they're breaking up, and eventually we're going to get a match between the two, right? Now, moving forward, Angel Garza, which, goddamn, talking about falling off a cliff, him and Madcap Moss have a match. Nobody cares about that match. Ultimately, Madcap Moss wins via pinfall with the punchline. I guess that's his finishing maneuver, whatever. So, post match, Happy Corbin attacks and beats Moss down in the ring, capping it off with the end of days. He goes to the floor to the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal in memory of Andre the Giant trophy. That's a mouthful. And walks off with it. So he steals his trophy. So that lets us know eventually they're going to have a match at some point in time. Is it at WrestleMania Backlash? Is it maybe next week on SmackDown? Who knows? But eventually that storyline is coming to a head. And I've been reading reports that Corbin's got some injuries going on and he's about to go take some time off. So that makes perfect sense to kind of elevate Madcap Boss because I think there's something there with Riddick Boss. I really do.
I agree.
Yeah.
He's got mic skills. He's got ring ability. I think tonight he was being a little bit of a tryhard, but at the same time, it's got to be he's trying a babyface persona, so like it's got to be a little different. But then at the same time, like when you're an old man wrestling fan, sometimes you think too much, you know. So,
bruh, yes. I can relate to that. Yes.
you know what I mean? So like, so we'll see what he does because I mean, listen, with when he said I got a long one and a short one, joke, I laughed at that. I'm not gonna lie, I really did. Like I popped at that when I saw that when I heard that the first time. So like, he's got and with that, I just feel like the guy's moldable. I got a feeling there's a lot that he can do, and we'll see. I think the kid's got a future. I do. I'm excited to see what he does. But tonight I feel like he was being a little bit of a tryhard.
Well, I'm washed now, but at one particular point in time, I too had a long one and a short one, but that's neither here nor there. I'm washed now, like washed life, like like I'm literally we're 10, 11 o'clock at night on the East Coast, and I'm sitting up here doing a podcast about wrestling. Clearly, I'm washed at this particular point in time, but I had a good run.
Oh man,
Sometimes you find one that makes you want to do better, and that's kind of what happened to me.
That's a fact. Same here.
Yeah.
Same here.
So moving along, we get to our main event. So before we get to our main event, Sami Reigns, Jesus Christ. So Sami Zayn goes and knocks on Roman Reigns' door. Nobody answers. Apparently, he thinks they have some sort of a agreement between the Bloodline and Sami Zayn. Going into our main event this evening, which is Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn in a lumberjack match. You're an old school wrestling fan. I'm an old school wrestling fan. Can we both agree that we kind of pop for the whole lumberjack match gimmick?
Yes.
Oh, before we get to that, so I'm gonna leave that out. Before we get to that, we got to talk about Lacey Evans, and she cut another one of those promos. And I gotta be honest, they seem like they're trying to turn her into a baby face, and I get it. I think she's a natural heel, but honestly, these promos that they've done, they did one last week, and they did the same one this week, and talking about her upbringing and how hard she had it. It's all very pull yourself up by the bootstraps, which as a black man makes me a little uncomfortable. But in front of that audience and that crowd, it's probably going to get over. Plus, she had them things thinking, which that's definitely going to get over with any crowd, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It just feels a little emo to me. You know what I mean?
You said emo. See, I'm going the opposite way. You said emo. I'm thinking January 6th.
No, you know why? Because I like before, at least like all right, prior to Flair, prior to like her flirtation with Flair, right? The way that they pushed her was very pro military, very like Southern Belle, pro-military, whatever, like, and all of that. Now they're pushing her suffering, constantly pushing the suffering, like the suffering and the adversity that she went through. Not necessarily how strong she is and how much of a badass she is. It's just like how much they're pushing, like how much she could take a beating. You know what I mean? Like, okay, they do that with Liv Morgan. They do that, with a lot of people. Like, it's not fresh, it's not new. It's it's a girl that got beat up a lot, and now she's gonna come back and kick everybody's ass. Like, you could use Lacey Evans for something else. I'm just saying, like, and shit, like you could use her to do like a Mandy Rose role type shit. Like, look what they're doing with Mandy Rose in NXT. It's fucking working out beautifully. You know what I mean? Like you could. It's just that I don't know. But I say, look, I'm 30. You know what I mean? This show is for 12-year-olds. So like,
I feel like we saying the same thing though, because like Mandy Rose kind of hits that same demographic. Like, I see what they see in Lacey Evans. She's a tall blonde. She's got the military background, which Vince pops for that because he's super patriotic for whatever it's worth. Like, I see what they see in her. I think she works better as a heel, but I feel like they're hell bent on turning her into a face. And yeah, it might get over with that crowd, like their typical crowd, but the demographics of their crowd is kind of changing. And for somebody like me that's a fan, again, it comes off very pull yourself up by the bootstraps, and I'm not personally going to relate to that. But I could see, I can see a universe where their target demographic does relate to that. You know what I mean? With everything that else that Lacey has going on.
No, I see what you mean. I just feel like that whole thing, like, for example, when her daughter was involved and she was like the super mom, I feel like that shit really got over. You know what I mean? When other people get involved in things like that, and then all of a sudden you're being like protective of the kids. But I feel like when she came across as the mama bear protecting her kids, that hit home. And I feel like with this, they're going a different direction. I'm not saying that it's not going to be effective. That's not what I'm saying. I just feel like the direction that they had before, where it was just like, I'm this badass mom, resonated way better. Because
go ahead, man.
The landscape across the landscape across the country is that way. Whether a woman is married or not, but now it's just like, I got this career and I got the kids and I'm just superwoman type shit. That a lot of that resonates with a lot of people. So yeah. I wish they would have stuck with that, honestly, and have her daughter just come around and be like, "Yeah, my mommy's gonna kick you." You know what I mean?
It also helps that she's. It also helps that she's an in-shape blonde with some nice. You get what I'm saying. I don't even have to go any further. But let me ask you this before we move on real quick. Lacey Evans. Who's the one that you talked about in down in NXT? I can't remember her name. Lacey Evans. Oh my goodness, I apologize. This is bad podcasting. This is bad airtime. Toxic Attraction, the leader. What is her name?
Oh, Mandy Rose.
Mandy Rose, thank you. And the one that Rhea Ripley just broke up with. What's her name?
Oh, Liv Morgan?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Out of the three of them, because they have similar, you see what the E sees in them, and they have similar, I'm not saying they're, on spot characters, but they have similar characteristics that would attract themselves to the WWE, which is why they're trying to push them. So out of the three of them, man, which one do you think has the most upside?
The most upside is the one that's been pushed on the positive, whether she was a heel or a face, right? Because look, as a baby face, she was pushed as the girl that gave the ugly guy a chance. That's how she was pushed. Okay. And got over, right? As a heel, right? She's being pushed as like this this perfect hot thing. And mind you, she's one of the hottest people in WWE. She is. It's the truth. Everybody want, I remember WrestleMania 35, all the Mandy Rose shirts with all guys my age and everybody. You know what I mean? Everybody was fiending to get a picture. I got a picture with Mandy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and here's the truth. Like, what I respect about it is that she knows the deal. She knows what's popping. She knows what's popping. She knows what's up. Like, you know what I mean? She knows that everybody wants. You know what I mean? So like, and she knows that her time with that is limited. But at the same time, she does have ability in the ring. Her mic skills have gotten better over the years. But my point to answer your question is just that like Liv Morgan has been pushed. Liv Morgan is just as beautiful. She is banging, and she knows what's up too. Coming out as a freaking half a dominatrix half the goddamn time, looking mad cute. You know what I mean? But the thing is that they always show her like suffering. She was at her peak, in my opinion, when she was coming out with the Riot Squad and like with her tongue out and looking all crazy. You know what I mean? But then all of a sudden she starts suffering, and she's just this girl that's passing adversity.
Touche. So before we
Lacey Evans, come on, give her another story. Keep her as the super mom, in my opinion. You know, have her. You know,
it's just keep her off my TV, in my opinion. But that's neither here nor there. So before we head into the main event, the commentators, and shout out to Pat McAfee, because he has breathed a fresh new breath of air into that commentary situation, right? Like, yeah, he just makes things more exciting with his enthusiasm. It's infectious. And I think he's even like reinvigorated Michael Cole, who has been there for so long. So shout out to Pat McAfee. So they hyped up next week. So we've got three matches rather for next week. So Rick O'Shea, my favorite Black Irishman, he's going to be facing Shanky next week. And they're also going to have a Beat the Clock challenge next week between Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey. So that means both Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey are going to be in competition on next week's SmackDown. So they hyped that up for next week. So that had to be said.
Banging it out even more.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the main event this evening was Braveheart, aka Drew McIntyre, versus Sami Zayn in a lumberjack match. And can I just say, Sami Zayn has been doing the Lord's work for so long in this company. He is basically their Swiss Army knife. He's the new Dolph Ziggler. Wherever you need to plug him in, whatever you need him to do, not only is he going to do it, but he's going to knock it completely out the park. And he played his role so well this week against Braveheart, playing the chicken shit heel. Because we're old school wrestling fans, so you know that lumberjack stipulation, it only works when you have a chicken shit heel that's trying to find his best way to weasel himself out of the match. And that's why you have the lumberjacks there to roll his ass back into the ring, right?
You know, if there's anybody that you could compare to Bobby Heenan, it would be him and The Miz. He's just so good at being a weasel. He really is. Like, Sami Zayn is just such a good heel. And just great on the mic. Like, honestly, I can't wait to see Sami Zayn in Canada. I cannot wait till they can go back and do a show like in Toronto or in Calgary or something like that. Because whenever they go to Canada, him and Kevin Owens, they get these crazy, crazy pops. Right. So I'm very, very curious to see. And mind you, Sami Zayn's been a heel for a long time. But his work is just amazing. It really is. And the way that he made Drew look tonight was great, because I have a feeling that Drew McIntyre is in contention to possibly take the belt, or at least one of them.
No, keep going, because I think that's where we're going with SummerSlam. I think it's going to be Drew and Roman at SummerSlam, but keep going.
And possibly, yeah. I mean, you do have a good point. You know what I mean? I don't know if I see now. I know that Vince is high on Drew. I don't know if they're gonna put the belt back on him. Because the reality is that I don't know what direction they would go. Because the funny thing is that now after post COVID, it's hard to predict these things because you don't know what's coming next, especially now with the Saudi shows in the mix, and you know what I mean. Like it's very very interesting now. But there's definitely a good chance that they might just fuck around and put the belt on him. Why? Because at this moment we still don't know the severity of the injury.
Touche. But this is how dope Sami Zayn is, and again, this is why I say he's been doing the Lord's work. It's literally a lumberjack match. The whole purpose of a lumberjack match is to keep the chicken shit heel in the ring, so he has to get his comeuppance. But somehow, some way, by hook and by crook, Sami Zayn still manages to escape and go out into the crowd, right? Yep. And the crowd and is called off. So now Adam Pearce comes out and announces that next week we're going to have a steel cage match between Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn. And that's how we ended SmackDown this particular evening.
Yep. It was an interesting show. It was definitely an interesting show. They ended up with a high on Drew McIntyre. And like I said before, like we'll see what happens with that. You know what I mean? Because let me ask you this. Do you miss wrestling without the internet wrestling community?
Yes. Yes, I do. Yes. I think we know too much now. And I think that affects how we watch this. Like, obviously, we all love this because you and I, we're literally spending our Friday nights talking about fucking wrestling. So obviously, we clearly love this. But I think that the internet community, yes, I think that it has jaded us. And I think we know too much. Even though we don't know as much as we think we do, at the same point in time, I think we know too much. And I think that ruins our perception as a fan, just to be able to just shut the hell up and just watch what they're putting out. So, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Like, it's sometimes it's a little hard to be unbiased on certain things.
Yeah.
Or just not see through things. But at the same time, because of the conditions and the circumstances, it's interesting now because you don't know what trigger they're gonna pull. And I'll give you an example. Like this whole Cody Rhodes thing, like we kind of all knew that it was happening. We just didn't know how they were gonna pull the trigger. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I still think they're working us, but it's on some meta shit now. Like they're using what we think we know against us.
That's
if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of that now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that now. It's not just like, oh shit, this happened. And now it's just like, oh wow, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, yeah.
That's what it's become. Yeah. So it's interesting because I certainly didn't see that part of it coming as a wrestling fan a long time ago. But then at the same time, it kind of does ruin part of the show.
It does, man. And I'm a glass half full type of guy. So what I try to do is, any company, whether it be WWE, AEW, like you're always going to find fault in whatever they do. Like it just is what it is, right? I try to lean on the side of glass half full. So I like what I like. And when the companies, when they do some shit I don't like or some shit that I question, I try to be fair. I try to be as fair as I can. Like I will criticize the companies when I feel they need criticism. I will praise them when I feel they need praise. But ultimately, I tried to be a fan, which means I tried to, focus on the things that I like and not so much talk about the things that I don't like. Because all the companies, they have things that if you're a true wrestling fan like I am, you can find some shit to like about every company. And I try to focus on those things. You know what I mean?
definitely. It's just that, like, for example, when it comes to WWE, a lot of people don't necessarily see their restrictions. And
Exactly. They don't understand how hard it is to be a professional wrestling company and be a publicly traded company. Like you said, there's a lot of restrictions that come with that. There's a lot of things that I'm sure they wish they could do, but they can't.
facts. I mean, like, it's a global company now, but there's a lot of handcuffs. Like,
Hmm.
and a lot of people don't necessarily see that. And mind you, like, for somebody like Becky Lynch, look, you see how good her mic skills got over the years, but I'm sure that that's due to a ton of pressure. You know what I mean? And somebody like Seth Rollins too. Even though he was the Ring of Honor World Champion, but like it's Tyler Black and all of that, but still, like, the guy's amazing now. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain things that the things that WWE creates is I mean, hey, the Brahma Bull, the people's champ. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, come on, bro. Like, listen, John Cena. Listen, these movie stars don't got this fucking work ethic, bro. They're not fucking with these people, bro. Like,
Yeah.
when Roman Reigns and Sasha Banks starts making movies and shit. Like, come on, they're not gonna do it. Like, these people are gonna take over Hollywood. Mark my words. When I'm 80, you're gonna see a whole bunch of wrestlers getting Oscars. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Let me shut up.
So, no, you good, man. And I've enjoyed our conversation, man. I'm gonna say this, and then we'll wrap it up real quick because you brought up Seth Rollins, and it's hilarious to me because I really wasn't kind of feeling the Seth Rollins character. Like, I like his in ring work. He's a hell of a wrestler. He's one of the best in ring wrestlers in the world. But the character, I was kind of lukewarm on. But I went to Dallas and I went to WrestleMania, and I brought my best friend with me, who
Mm,
he's a Laps fan. Because everybody used to watch this shit. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Everybody used to watch this shit. So he's
mhm,
a Laps fan. And we went to both nights of WrestleMania and he had a good ass time. And of all the shit that he saw, he got to see Stone Cold come back. He was him and his dad were huge Rey Mysterio fans. He got to see him. He
mm.
got to see Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, blah, blah, blah. All the shit he had to see, or he got to see. The wrestler that he went most cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over was Seth freaking Rollins. And that gave me a better appreciation for the Seth character. Because, I mean, this guy, like, when I said Seth got over with him, like, to the point where Seth Rollins is now on his workout playlist. He played it to his wife, and his wife is looking at him, and she's rolling his eyes. Like, he played it in the house to her, his theme. Like, he really went over for Seth freaking Rollins. So, shout out
I'm,
to Seth freaking Rollins.
you know, one thing that he's doing is very unique, but business wise, I don't know how well it works, but he's famous for his drip.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very unique situation right there. And one thing that I noticed, if you go to WWE auctions, a lot of his drip is sold. Like, some of the jackets and whatever, they're sold for a couple of racks, and you know what I mean, 3, 4 G's, shit like that. I saw a couple of things sold for 10,000. I don't know if the point.
10,000?
Yeah, no, listen, there are fans that
Wow.
have money, bro. I realize this shit now. Like, just seeing auctions, wow. For like, there's a chair. I mean, mind you, there's a chair that was broken, signed by Stone Cold, and it went on the auction for like 1,500.
Wow.
A broken chair, with Stone Cold's, you know what I mean? But it's WrestleMania,
Yeah.
you know. But still, like, yeah, there's people that spend hella money on this stuff, and I'm sure that he's aware of that. So, like, just about everything, he'll take it, he'll sign it, and put it on auction, because you never see him wear the same shit twice,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at the same time, because before he used to just sell his Messiah shirts and all of this other stuff, but there is no, because when you're a heel, you don't necessarily do that. But then there are people that just appreciate the amount of effort that he puts into his look, and then there's like a collection of Seth Rollins drip out there. And
That's hilarious.
it
But
is
shout out to Seth freaking Rollins. Shout out to him.
for real.
Vic, I've enjoyed this conversation, brother, and I hope we get to do this again, man. Why don't you let the good people know where they can find you and everything you got going on, brother?
Hang on. Actually, you know what? We have a whole bunch of stuff going on pretty soon. So now, oh, wait a minute. Somebody put a commercial in here. Maybe I should play this commercial.
Good morning, Mr. Phelps. This is your mission should you choose to accept it.
Simple game. Is he serious?
Always.
It's much worse than you think.
We're being ambushed. Abort, that's an order.
This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
We are starting the Mission Impossible series, ladies and gentlemen. So probably for the next couple of months, we'll be doing Mission Impossible and all of the movies starting on Tuesday, which that means I'll probably just watch it tonight once again.
So can we, y'all got to talk about how the Mission Impossible series literally saved Tom Cruise's career. Can somebody bring that up? Because without Mission Impossible, there's no Jack Reacher. And that extended Tom Cruise's career by another 10, 15 years. Like, just bring that up for me, please, and thank you.
It sure did. So now that's what we're doing on Unpopular Review Entertainment. And, we're doing all the regular stuff, all the other stuff, everything that's going on. Join us once again on Monday for Monday Night Raw, and join us for everything that Mike is doing. Join us for everything that actually join us next week because we might have the same cast. We might have a different cast. People are doing stuff like we're busy, bro. So we got to figure it out. So you know what I mean? The executive consultant called me up this morning. He was like, listen, man, I got all this other stuff. I need you to do SmackDown. Please do SmackDown. You know what I mean? But
I think I shit the bed. I don't think I'm going to be back next week, but it is what it is.
No, I mean, we did great. See, now the thing is that people, they get mad at me because I talk too much and I ramble a little bit, right? But then hey, it is what it is. Did we have a good show? Yes, we did. We always have a good show because we always got stuff to talk about. But look, speaking about talking about, on Wednesdays we're talking about All Elite Wrestling. Right. So now, personally, I'm an AEW fan as well because I love that it's unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you don't know what the hell's coming next. People complain about what they're doing, that they're picking back on off of WWE and talking shit off of WWE. Nobody gets mad when TNA does it. Nobody gets mad when MLW does it. Nobody gets mad when GCW does it.
Granted, I'd feel a lot better if Pretty Tony put down the cocaine and maybe picked up the Adderall or maybe a Jack Daniels every now and again. I feel like the booking might be a little bit better, but I too enjoy AEW as well.
I am grateful to the fact that there is a billionaire mark. Period.
Touche.
You know what I mean?
Well said.
There is a billionaire mark of wrestling. This guy is really just throwing money at the situation. Nobody knows. People are talking about how he's hemorrhaging money or whatever. He's having fun. Build a company, and the wrestlers are having fun. And the proof of that, fucking Daniel Bryan is there.
Yeah, and CM Punk.
And CM Punk brought CM Punk. Come on, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
he's
got oil fuck money.
Yeah,
he ain't going to paraphrase the game. I ain't going nowhere, so you get to know me.
And mind you, look, and here's the truth. I went to Arthur Ashe. There were barely kids there. I mean, you were lucky to see a woman there. But
that's a problem, though.
No, it is a problem. But the thing about the situation is just that, like, you were lucky to see a woman there, and you were lucky to see kids there, right? So they're literally catering to a fan base that is 18 to 40. People that just like wrestling. People that just want to go see a match. Listen, okay, if AEW all of a sudden put, hey, Ricochet and Wolf Ospreay, they'll sell off the fucking house. Just putting that match. And that's how they approach a lot of things. Hey, we're going to put these two guys together and they're going to brawl it out. Bomb. All right, everybody come and see it. And they have this fucking amazing match. They do that kind of shit with the Young Bucks all the time. You know what I mean? So, like, Um,
The reason I say that it's a problem that you didn't see any women there,
Oh.
not on no bullshit. I'm saying, but that's how you kind of can gauge when there's going to be a boom in the wrestling period, because the women are coming out, because they're they're attracted to the guys, or they're into the storylines, or whatever the case may be. But once you start to see attractive, not even attractive women, just women showing up to the shows, that's how you know we're on the precipice of a boom. That's why I say that's that's why I said what I said.
Well, I mean, you know what? When I went to WrestleMania 35, that was the first time I saw attractive women at a wrestling show.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean?
Fair
I
enough.
know, and mind you, I'm not gonna say I'm not okay. This is what I mean. I mean tens. I don't mean like girls that are cute or like sevens. I mean like
Nothing wrong with a 7-Up, man.
Beyonce. Like, no, it was just like, what are you doing here? Like, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not trying to insult nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm talking about, like, neck breakers. Yeah, sorry.
No, you good, brother. No, I appreciate it. We could keep this conversation going for hours, man, but I think we need to wrap it up because people have other things to do. Vic, nice to meet you, brother. Pleasure having you on, man. I hope we can do this again sometime, man.
Definitely. This was fun.
Likewise. You guys, you've been listening to Unpopular Review. We reviewed SmackDown. I'm Mr. Velvet Pipes, Christopher Platt. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you back next time. Until then, shalom.